Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about network classifications. In electrical system, as we know, there are two type of supply. One it is AC supply, another it is DC supply. In case of network, when the input supply is AC, the network is known as AC network, whereas when the supply is DC, the network is known as DC network. The network, then electrical network, which consists of resistive component mainly and energized with DC supply, are known as DC network. But it doesn't mean that we cannot have inductor and capacitor in DC network, but their behavior will be analyzed in different way. Whereas AC network, a electrical network which consists of resistor, inductor and capacitor or combination of these basic elements and energized with AC supply are known as AC network. Here we can say we are having a DC supply in this network and the elements are only resistance, and this network is known as DC network. Whereas in this case we are having R, L and C and the supply is AC, this network is known as AC network. Now there are another classification of network as active and passive network. The active and passive network are defined based upon the network components, whether they are having their source, their own source, or the network is energized from the external source. A network which consists of different electrical basic elements along with power voltage generating elements or energized with any kind of source are known as active network. The active elements or components are DC AC source, voltage and current source, diode, transistor, op amp, battery, fuel cell, etc. Whereas passive networks, the network which consists of different electrical basic element and do not energized with any kind of source are known as passive network. And in this case there is no source and neither these elements having their own generation capacity, and hence this network is known as passive network, whereas this network is known as active network because there is some source is connected as well as some elements are there, they can develop their own potential. Now, another classification is linear and non-linear networks. A linear network is one in which response versus excitation graph follows a straight line and passes through origin, whereas the non-linear network is one in which response versus excitation graph doesn't follow the straight line or not passes through the origin are known as non-linear network. Here we can see there are three elements R, L and C, that is resistor, inductor and capacitor. When the supply is AC supply, this is AC network, but the network is linear. Whereas in this case, when the elements are resistance only and subjected to DC supply, this network is also a linear network. But in this case, when the supply is though DC, there are only resistances, not inductor and capacitor, but there is a one device which is diode, and this diode behaves like a non-linear element, and hence this overall network is known as non-linear network. Now, the unilateral and bilateral network. Unilateral network, the network in which current can flow in one direction only, are known as unilateral network. The unilateral elements or components just like as diode, transistor and op amp etc. Whereas the bilateral network in which current can flow in either direction are known as bilateral network. The bilateral elements or components are resistor, inductor and capacitor. Now, the lumped and distributed network, there is another classification. The lumped network here means the components are having their defined shape and size. Also, can be easily regrouped are known as lumped network. For example, in our laboratory work, whatever the elements we are using for the arrangement of experiment, they are lumped network. Now, whereas in case of electrical system, this always we don't have the lumped network. There are some network also known as distributed network. The network in which component do not have defined shape and size and cannot be regrouped easily are known as distributed network. If, for example, power transmission and distribution lines, because we are generating power at one station whereas the consuming power at another station, and the distance between these two stations may be of 100 kilometer, 500 kilometer, even 1000 kilometers sometimes, and hence these transmission lines, they are having resistor, inductor and capacitor, but that is not visible at one location, and hence we can say the transmission line and transmission line or distribution lines, their parameters are distributed throughout the length, and hence they are known as distributed network.